Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Inspired Show with Joe and Jorge.
Welcome in, everyone. We're here to offer another enlightening episode of the Inspired Show.
I mean, people must just watch us and be like, these guys are so enlightened. We're just going to listen like we've never listened
aura.
before.
It's our aura.
Yeah. Either that or they're like, let's watch cartoons.
Swipe right?
No, they're watching because...
Is it swipe left or swipe right? I don't know. I've been married for 18 years, so I don't even know what this is.
You swipe right if you like. Yeah, no, you swipe right if you like. You swipe left if you don't.
Okay, so they're swiping
right.
left
if
they don't like our aura, they're going to swipe right.
Yeah, but this is not a dating app. The mic just kind of fell, but I guess it's fine, right? Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about action a little bit, right? We're going to talk about...
Take action.
Yeah.
So we actually, our biggest...
And I keep going like this.
I don't know.
At the topics
Who's
are
over
on
there?
that board.
God? Are you talking to us?
No, it's the topic.
So our topic today is about if you don't ask, you won't get.
Yeah.
So...
Or I used to always hear, I heard this one, if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
That's a good one. I always love that one.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for you? I mean, we all have these moments in life where we're at the altar or at the pivotal moment, and we look at ourselves and we go, "Shit, if I ask this right now, what's going to happen?" Right?
I've been thinking a lot about this, and I'll tell you why. Because we were talking about this new AI company that we invested in, and I've taken up on the role of being the fundraiser, right? And I've been asking for funds in exchange for stock and whatnot, and I've gone to personal friends that there's always that element of like, what are they going to think that I'm asking for money? What is that? Do they think that I don't have it? What if they say no? Is that going to have an impact in my friendship? But what I've discovered is so much of the fear that we have for asking for anything, I think it goes embedded with our identity, right? With what the person's going to think, what it says about me, how I'm going to feel if they say no.
Yeah.
The personal rejection. So what I've finally got to the point of and this could be applied with any kind of asking, it's just you have to be 100% okay with the no.
Yes.
And also ask in a way that you give the person the freedom to say no. Right. So, for example, when I've been asking my friends if they want to be part of this business, I think you can say it, but I think it's also energetically. I've been like, hey, so, we're taking on $50,000 investments, and, you and me, especially with friends, right? Because it's, friends are people that, we don't want to alter that relationship.
Yes.
So I've been like,
because money is tricky.
Because money can be tricky, not as tricky. Catch yourself. Can be tricky.
Can be tricky.
Yeah. So I've definitely set up the moment where I give the freedom. Like, listen, and if you can't do it, dude, we're boys and no pressure.
I think we've all had those moments in our lives where you've had to borrow money from somebody, right? And then you were in debt to a friend or family member, and then when you didn't pay them back right on time, then you start thinking, oh, what are they using my money for? Or all that kind of stuff like that, right? And so...
right, they borrow money from you, and then you see them on Instagram on vacation, and you're like, well, now I know where my money went.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where I think it stems from, is we've all had those experiences in the past where it wasn't the best scenario, and we now use that whenever we're going up against something like that, right?
I agree.
I remember when you approached me about the opportunity to be an angel investor, and it sounded like you were about to break up with me.
Oh my God, I know, because I was like, listen, I think
I love you, right?
You know that I love you, right? And you're like, oh my God, he's leaving. No, it's true. How funny. I remember that. Yeah, I think there's that fear of what's going to happen if I don't get what I want, and is it going to change the dynamic? And the reality is, Joe, is like, life is too short, and you know what? Maybe some friendships, who knows? Maybe that person would get a little bit like turned off that you asked, but then
what if they got the opposite reaction?
Right,
They're mad that you didn't ask them.
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. What if they didn't? What if they got mad that you didn't ask? And at the end of the day, it's like, dude, this life it's not a dress rehearsal. You have to go for the things that you want ultimately.
Yes, 100%. But ultimately, what do we have that we're afraid of?
Right. They're looking bad.
Looking bad.
Bad.
But if you have done the research, and that's one of the things I always expect, if people are coming to me to ask me for money or any type of present any type of opportunity for me,
it's got to resonate with you.
I have trust that they did their due diligence before they brought it to me, and then I can perform my due diligence and then bounce questions off of that person who brought the opportunity to me or is asking me for that favor, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That also comes in with working at the speed of trust. Have you ever read that book by Stephen M. R. Covey?
No.
Working at the speed of trust?
Please give us and the audience the cliff notes.
So just based on natural human response, we give everybody that we meet initially our trust.
Yeah.
Right? It's until that trust is broken that we then, are apprehensive, right? Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world right now, when he goes in to acquire a business, he doesn't do any due diligence at all. And you know what he says?
Really?
And this came out of the book. He says that if you're on my radar, you're doing the right things.
Right. It's almost like that trust that if you're in my vicinity, then right, you're trustworthy.
Yeah. If I'm looking to buy your company, there's a reason you're even on my blip of the radar.
Right.
So I'm not going to second guess your business model or your like if you're cooking the books or anything of that nature. I'm just going to go in with a handshake and know that you're doing the best.
Yeah, and then it makes you wonder, right? How many investments or company ideas, maybe they were cooking the books at the very beginning to get, leverage and get some money, but then all of a sudden it took off. So, in our experience, right, we met with the founder and we intuitively felt that it was the right thing for us to do. And of course, nothing's ever guaranteed, right? It's like when you're an investor, there's always a risk.
Sure.
And it's funny, right? Because people are always like, oh, that's not a safe bet, or this is a safe bet. And it's like, no one knows.
How do you know?
I have one investor friend of mine who spent $3 million on a total other project that didn't go anywhere. And then he's telling me that my project here is too risky. And my head up thinking like, oh, really? What about the $3 million that you just like basically set on fire?
But that's the point right there, right? He is projecting his anxiety or frustration about
the trauma of that, what happened.
Yeah, the trauma of the bad business decision on your idea.
So do you think it's almost like, and this could apply in multiple levels, right? Because when someone asks me to borrow, like let's say somebody is like, hey, can I borrow $2,000? I always, if it's a friend, right? I always think like, you know what? I'm not going to lend you $2,000, but I'm comfortable with $500, right? And then I'll lend the $500 or $750 or whatever. Depends on how liquid life is happening. And then I always lend that kind of money with the thought of it might never come back, and that's okay.
That's the key.
Yeah.
I was just about to suggest that.
Yeah.
When you lend money,
it's so insane.
it's so in sync. When you lend money,
and you know what?
You should just lend it.
There's no I in sync.
Oh, in sync.
It's just the NSYNC. Yeah, just bad joke. Keep going. Dad joke. Oh, but Kyler liked it.
I actually
Kyler
got
liked
it right at the end.
Yeah. There's no I in sync. Good. He got it. So, yeah. So,
but at the end,
sorry. As you were saying.
As I was saying is that you have to really just trust it.
Yeah.
And
but what do you mean when you say trust it? What does trust mean?
Trust means to me giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. Giving them a shot that it could work.
Yeah.
Knowing that nobody's a psychic or a magician.
I don't have a magic ball, so I can't, or a crystal ball. I can't predict what the future is going to be like.
You have a great,
I have a shiny
beautiful
dome.
shiny dome.
I have a shiny dome, but it doesn't grant wishes.
No.
So
even if you rub on it the right way. No,
now that testosterone's really going to come out.
Testosterone's really going to come out. You missed my theory. Like research shows that when a man loses hair, is because their testosterone level is really high. That's why I tell Joe every time we go to real estate conventions, the women flock to him, and he's running away because he's like showing his marriage ring, and they don't. I think they like that even more.
I don't know.
I think when
there's
they
a
see
theory
you married,
behind that. That's for sure.
They see you married, they're just like, I'm gonna steal that genie bald head. Wait, now I can't even go back to where we were because we're talking about trust. Oh, no. I trust, right? Trust.
Benefit of the doubt.
So listen. So I once heard, I think the best definition of I trust you, right? Because if I tell you, Joe, I trust you, right? I trust you. Nah, you're not gonna do this. When I say I trust you, what I'm really saying is I trust that you're not gonna do something to piss me off. That's what I'm saying when I say I trust you. But the real I trust you, right? The real I trust you would be I trust that you're gonna do what you're gonna do despite of what I think.
That's perfect.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So funny story.
Yeah.
When I was a young kid, my parents were together for a short period of time. We all discussed that on a previous episode, but
you can tune back and see it.
When my parents would fight, my dad would use this phrase, just trust me. And then they'd start kissing, right?
That was a trigger.
So I thought that the word trust meant kiss.
That's so cute.
So, when my sister would ask me, where's mom and dad? I'm like, they're trusting in the bedroom right now.
They're trusting.
They're trusting in the bedroom right now.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow. So maybe now, like on latent terms, and when you hear somebody's like, I trust you, you get woof.
Oh, hey.
You're like, I can't trust you. I'm married. I have to doubt you.
I have to doubt you. There's no trust in this. I'm married.
I'm married. But yeah, it's an interesting, I think some of this also roots back to, asking for favors, asking for things. Like a lot of people, asking for help, if you go into a room, if you go into a room of 10 people and you ask who likes to help, right?
Yeah.
I bet you anything 90% of the room would raise their hand, right? Yeah. And then if you ask, again, the same room, okay, who wants to be helped? Or who likes to ask to be helped?
Everybody would.
Nobody would probably raise their hands. Yeah. But then you think, okay, so if you like to help and I don't want to ask for help, then I don't get to help you fulfill your wish, which is to help. Yeah. So if all of us wants to help and nobody's asking for help, then nobody gets what they want either.
Yeah, and it goes back to the old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right?
Yeah. What does that mean exactly?
Means
that's one of those American terms that I've always heard, and people are like, "Squeaky was it?" And I always go, "Yeah."
Well, you think about it, right?
And I'm like, "What does this squeaky mean? Squeaky."
Well, your bicycle wheel starts to squeak.
Okay.
And then you go get the oil can, you throw a little oil on it, and then it no longer squeaks. So it squeaked, and it got what it needed, so that way it didn't squeak anymore.
Okay, so you get what you need.
Exactly.
The quickest.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you know?
See, we're not only an inspiring show, but we're a language arts show as well.
A language barrier enhancing program. What about, okay, do you know where the term out of the blue comes from?
Ooh, no. Can you enlighten me?
I know.
Okay.
But you use it.
I use it all the time.
Okay. You're going to like this one.
That came from out of nowhere.
So out of the blue, and who taught me this was this amazing acting coach back in the day when, I thought I was an actor. Her name was Godine Eagle, and God bless her soul. She just passed away at 97,
amazing,
3 weeks ago. And so the term out of the blue comes from Kansas because they would have the most beautiful blue sky day, and all of a sudden a tornado would appear. So the term out of the blue came literally catastrophe, or a tornado came out of nowhere, out of perfection, out of the blue, out of something so perfect like a blue sky, catastrophe would show up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm amazed.
A young, long mane producer liked it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And that, it's kind of cool.
We should get him some good shampoo.
Yeah, we should get him some. We should actually, he should edit just a picture of him and his hair with his mane.
Yeah.
So people would not feel lost and be like, oh, what are these guys referring
like Samson.
to? All of a sudden, you just have like this Fabio looking like glamour shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take, you know what? I'll take
like
the picture. We'll turn it into AI. It'll be a bigger mane.
It'll be like the superhero with big,
with
big
like
long hair,
glistening, like shiny, like all that stardust that they do. The kids do on the art now.
Yeah,
we'll have it like that.
Perfect.
Next episode.
So I think I'm gonna actually bring some shampoo for him next time because Stacy's
especially because you can't really use it.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I have so many products in my house that I cannot use. It's just so.
Except sunblock for you. I get that when I'm out with you and it's really sunny, I get kind of parental with you. Like I get work. Like I'm like, Joe, where's to put on the sunblock?
Sunscreen on?
Like I would be such a good dad. Like I actually get a little like, all right, you hey, what's up? And then you're like, I just use SPF 55, and I'm like, we'll see.
It works.
But your head didn't burn, so
it didn't burn.
You know what? From now on, because. Dude, this past weekend in Arizona, there was so much sun.
So much.
And the fact that you didn't get burned and you were never wearing a hat.
I just spent 5 days in Cabo and I still look pasty.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh my God,
that's
know.
That's
you're
SPF 55 right
you're
there.
Like, you remember in the old movies, Cocoon, when they would take off the costume and it was just like shining light? That's like, you absorb the light and it does nothing.
It does nothing.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Maybe you should try a spray tan.
I do the spray tan, but I just look like a Oompa Loompa.
Oh, yeah. Me too. But that's like, but then you shower and then it goes away.
Sure. But then you have like splotchy orange and all that stuff like that.
It's fine. Anyway.
I have Spanish in my blood. I tan really well.
Keep saying that.
Yeah.
Your Spanish is just horrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
No, I'm kidding.
I haven't really tried.
I'll help you. Hey, if you want me to help you, teach me a few real estate things, and I'll teach you some Spanish.
I think we had that agreement early on, and then I keep teaching, but I don't get any reciprocation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll work on it.
I try to talk to you in Spanish, but then you're like, no, this isn't going to work.
So we're really veered off the topic here. So going back to, it's like going back on.
So tell me a time where you experience that fear of asking for something and how you overcame it, or you didn't overcome it, and what was the scenario?
Listen, I think like anything in life is practice. Like practice just if I'm scared of getting on the phone and talking to a seller or a buyer or a realtor, it's because I haven't exercised that muscle enough, And the more that I do my reps, it's like when I do stand-up comedy, I do stand-up once in a while. Like the more that I'm getting out there, the easier it is. The longer that I'm not out there, the more scared that I am. So I think it's just fear. It's fear. What minimizes fear is repetition.
Yeah,
inevitably. Like you could be the most talented salesperson in the world, but if you're out of the exercise of it, then getting on stage or getting on that phone is gonna feel more foreign. So I think going back to my experiences that I've been going through with the fundraising and having those moments where I'm like, oh my God, am I going to really ask my friend for some pre-seed money to start up an AI company? Like I've been in a situation, like I went to New York a few weeks ago and I was staying at my friend's and he's done really well for himself. And he's about to have another kid and he's always super busy and I always felt like he was strapped. I felt at this moment he's a little too strapped. So I'm like, I'm not even going to ask. But all of a sudden I get to his house and he shows me like a whole deck of this like $8 million mansion he just bought in the Hamptons. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah. I wasn't going to do this, but you forced me to. Yeah. I need a $50,000 investment. And we laughed and he was like, he considered it, but he's like, dude, right now I can't. And I was like, dude, I just spent $8 million. I just spent $8 million on a house. Yeah. And I was like,
timing.
I have the same problem. My dog's food is getting so expensive.
I know it.
I can't deal with the bills. No, but it's just it's repetition and letting go of so what? Like they're either gonna say yes or no, and if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Yeah, and I have done this through sales. I've done this in dating. I've done this in all of aspects of my life. Right? It comes down to your own individual mindset.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I personally have asked for millions of dollars when I sell a mortgage or when I sell a house. And that's one of the most biggest investments anybody's going to ever make in their lifetime. And I remember I sold a $300,000 insurance premium. And I was nervous to ask for this insurance premium, but this is the guy who came to me and asked me for it. Yeah. Right? So I never go without just saying, hey, this is something that they need. They wouldn't be in front of me if they didn't need it. So I'm going to ask them for the business.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So when you've done the legwork of warming up with them, and you've done the legwork of identifying commonality with them, and you've done the legwork of putting the right process together to help them understand the benefits of your service and solution that you're offering them, or whatever, or the business model that you're offering them, whatever that looks like, you just have to ask for the business or ask for the opportunity to work with that person.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like you do the groundwork, right? Mm-hmm. And then also it's like, you got to keep in mind, you don't know where their head is at. Maybe they're looking for an opportunity this. Maybe they've done, like, for example, when you came on board, you were already using ChatGPT, and you had a story that you told from, maybe you want to say the story about how there was I think it was the beginning of crypto where you could have invested in it and you said no, right?
Yes.
And then.
Yeah. So after the crash in 2008, I was doing a bunch of things to try and, get back up to that income level that I was used to.
Lap dancing.
I was bartending, but I guess you could call it that, Same bald head, so attracted a lot of attention to me.
I'm sure you were, you and Buttercup were like the number one dancers.
Butterbean.
Yeah.
Buttercup.
And peanut butter. You, peanut butter, and Buttercup were like the three best dancers.
We were running a loan modification company, and I had approached the people who I was partnering with at that time and said, hey, we can just invest all of this money into crypto, and eventually it's gonna pop off, and we'll all be millionaires.
And around that time, it was at what?
It was like $100 a Bitcoin or something like that. It was super low.
Yeah.
And my friend Ben, he's like, oh, I have some crypto somewhere. I don't even think I have the password to the wallet or whatever. And so we just kind of like ended it at that. And then that business shortly then after that was, defunct because, regulation came in and we had to have certain things that we couldn't meet. And then it was like only a few years later, all of a sudden it moved up to like $10,000 a coin. And there was many, many crypto billionaires made out of that. And I'll even remember a story about a guy who realized that he threw away his crypto wallet because they used to be like these big, things that you can plug into your computer and, and hold the money. And it got thrown away, and he went and searched for it in the landfill in his local area just to try and find it because he knew it was worth so much money.
Can you imagine? But you can make a documentary out of that.
I know, but at the end of the day, it was because we all didn't think it was going to happen, or we all had a expectation that we had in our brain about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I'm a firm believer that there's opportunities that get presented in front of us all the time. And I'm rereading the book, The Alchemist, because I started reading it in Cabo when we were just there. And you got to pay attention to the signs. You got to pay attention to the omens.
That's the big kind of underlying theme of the book, right? Mm-hmm. Like pay attention to the signs,
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because when I heard about this opportunity for this AI company, a few months ago, I got involved with LA Tech Week, right? And I started going to these like Shark Tank sessions where like people would like pitch their technologies, and then investors would be like, yeah or no, and then they'll get into fights. It was actually really funny. And then I kept thinking like, wow, this is so interesting. I want to know more about how do you build a business from like a pre-seed to a seed to a Series A to a Series B, and eventually how do you take a company up public, and then how do you come up with like an exit strategy that's like, I'm gonna sell this thing for $4 billion in the next 4 years, and Google or Meta is gonna buy. You know, it's like the train, right?
Yeah.
And so I kept the LA Tech Week people kept sending me like, oh, we're doing a forum on this and this, and they send me one about Chat GPT, and this was like 3 months ago or something when everybody was starting to find out about it, you know? And so I went to this Chat GPT forum, and I'm sitting there in downtown, and they had like the sign, it just said Chat GPT on the screen really big, and I was waiting. And in that moment, right before it started, I get a text from my one of my investor friend, Alex, that goes, hey, I want to talk to you about an investment opportunity tomorrow, and it involves Chat GPT. And literally I took a picture of the screen, and I took that, you're right, like the signs, right? Yeah. I'm like, what are the odds that I'm watching this thing and you're sending me a text about it right as I'm watching the sign?
And he asked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing is we all have to just get over our fears and just ask what we are looking for. Yeah. And ask for what we're looking to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't ask,
the answer is always no.
That's right.
The answer is always no. I used to be part of this really amazing organization that it was all these life lessons, right? Yeah. And one of them was like, and I used to talk about how the only game in town is looking good, because everybody's trying to look good, right? Mm-hmm. And like, how you doing, Joe? Oh, everything's great. So it's like everyone looks good, and when you look good, you look good. But when you're willing to look bad, meaning when you're willing to be vulnerable, you look really, really good.
Yeah.
So it's that vulnerability. Asking for help, asking for money, asking for anything. Is being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And vulnerable is strength, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love that, especially the asking for help, right? Because we all have that inhibition of asking for somebody's help because we feel like we're weaker than.
Right. Yeah. And what is that going to show and tell the world? Yeah. So I think we gave it all we could.
I think we did too.
Yeah. Do you want to just enlighten us with our closeout jingle? I haven't really thought of the name for it yet, but the jingle,
the outro.
The outro.
The outro. Right, got it. Outro. Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. If you want some more inspired content, please follow us at all of the major social media platforms, and of course our YouTube channel, where you can catch all of our episodes coming out, and at the Inspired Show with Joe and George. Have an inspired day, everyone.